Hi there, and welcome to the Experience Podcast. My name is Dennis, and if you're watching this video, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. And when you subscribe, make sure you hit the bell notification. Um, and also make sure that you check out what we're doing in the description below. We have many transformational classes that are happening all the time. And one of those is the Freedom to Be Masterclass.com, and that's every Thursday at 6 p.m. And also, there is another class that I host. It's called Return to Nature Masterclass, and you can reach out on Facebook for that. I'll put that in the description as well. And that's every Thursday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Also, there is a donation link in the description. And what those funds will do is we're co creating and manifesting heaven on earth here in Costa Rica at the moment. And from here, we're building villages, self sustaining villages all over the world for the new earth. So you can, by donating, you're donating to that cause, and you're also supporting this channel and spreading peace, love, and joy all over the planet. And so with that,
Amen. Where do I sign up?
it's in just go in the description below, and you can find all the details there.
Okay, perfect. My name is Neil. I'm a multi-dimensional spiritual being expressing through a human body. I'm a coach, and I assist conscious people in their 20s exit the matrix and be with their soul family. Right now, we're here in beautiful weather. Like literally, it was raining when I woke up today, and it was super relaxing, like meditative, just hearing the rain. And then at lunchtime today, the sun has come out, and it's been sunshine and birds chirping and seeing butterflies and seeing ants move. And so this video format is there's a format of flow occurring inside the structure of the YouTube channel, inside the structure of the video. And that flow looks like distinguishing, which is creating worlds and language that I can step into and actually see those worlds and begin to create a way of being from those worlds if we choose so. And so, Dennis, the world and language for you to create today is the world of transformation. So, what is transformation, Dennis?
Transformation. Transformation is coming from a place of nothingness. It's coming from the present moment. It's not living in a story of the past. When we're in the past, it's a story of depression. And when we're in the future, it's a story of anxiety. Transformation occurs when we are present. And what we're present to is the quietness, the stillness, the nothingness. And from the nothingness, from no thing, all things can be created. And from that space is transformation. That's where creation and co-creation gets created from a place of peace, love, joy. And how that showed up in my life in this past week is I was not fully responsible in how I was being and how I was showing up. And there was a swirl around me everywhere I went. And by me recognizing the swirl that I was creating and taking responsibility and voicing that and not blaming or pointing fingers, it and by speaking to it to my family and those around me, it allowed me to create for myself a sense of freedom and sovereignty and peace and surrender and connection to God that was not reachable or tangible before I declared that this new way of being was how I was intending to show up from this moment forward. Transformation. And your word was congruency.
So congruency is a word, and to know congruency but to not be congruent is incongruent. And what congruent isn't is it isn't when you say one thing and then you do another thing. And what congruent isn't, it's when you say that you're going this way and then you go that way. What congruent isn't is when it's when somebody asks how you're doing and you go good and you feel like shit inside. That's not congruent. What congruent is when your thoughts are aligned with your feelings, and those thoughts and feelings are aligned with your action. Congruency is being congruent with the Trinity, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And the Trinity is also the thoughts, the feelings, and the actions. The thought being the Father, the feeling being the Mother, the action being the firstborn Son, the fruit, the result of the Trinity. Congruency is, there's two ways to be congruent, and both are congruent, but one is congruent with God, and one is congruent with the devil, with the mind, with the ego. The first way of being congruent is when you're totally identified as the ego. And in this way of congruency, you'll be seeking pleasure, you'll be looking to control and manipulate. In this being fully in the ego and operating from the ego, there'll be judgment. And with this way of congruency, there is essentially there's a way of being of essentially control and manipulation. And then it's all ego based, it's all from the mind. And then the other way of being congruent is when so in the first way of being, the ego has the person, but in the way of being now, it's when you have the ego. And it's when you see the ego, you acknowledge, I have an ego, and then you have an ego and you set it aside and let it be a bystander, and then you allow God to express through you, and the ego will want to say things, and you'll be and just noticing what the ego wants to say, and then saying what God would have me say. And that way of being is a way of being aligned completely with God, completely tapped into source, where in this way of being, the entire being is surrendered to God. The thoughts are surrendered, the feelings are surrendered, the actions are surrendered. You say the statement, not my will, but God's will be done. And then from this alignment, from this congruency, God now uses my thoughts, God now uses my feelings, God now uses my actions to express God's divine will onto earth, into the hearts and the souls of people, through communication, through ways of being, through actions being taken. And this is the truest form of alignment, um, the truest form of congruency. And in this form of congruency, it's the true self is the thing that's congruent. And in the other way of congruency, it's the ego self, the egoic identity, the ideal self that is congruent with itself, but it's incongruent with God, with Source. And then the other way of being, the soul is not aligned with the ego, and it's completely aligned with God, congruency. And so let's go more into this. So with congruency specifically, there is an aspect of um, we're always congruent with where we're at in the moment, but where we're at in the moment may not be fully aligned with the highest decision, with the highest perspective, with the highest thoughts, with the highest emotional states. Um, but it is congruent with where we're located in the moment. And recognizing that gives us the capacity to not judge where we're at. And then when we don't judge where we're at, we can actually potentially accept where we're at. And then once we accept where we're at, we can actually now change the location where we're at because we've accepted it. And now that we can change, we may listen to beautiful music. We may read something. We may literally just sit and do nothing, like just be. And then from that space, from the present moment, from being in the now, from accepting where we're at, that's where transformation is possible. That's where a shift in perspective is available, is in the present moment.
So if one is, if I feel a certain way, let's for example say that you ask me how I'm feeling, and I say that, oh, I'm feeling good, but on the inside I feel hijacked and I feel like angry and if I'm going to a job I hate and I just came home and I don't feel like I'm just barely fucking getting by and I'm frustrated and I'm depressed. Like what is and I say that I'm feeling good, but yet on the inside I'm like feeling all those other emotions. Um, what is an action step? You mentioned listening to good music. What is an action step that someone can take to become present, to get to that point where really I feel like congruency, like you spoke to, is presence, and from there transformation is possible. So from the sadness and the depression and the anger, like to get back into that present moment, like what are tools that you use or that you have used in the past that someone can utilize to get back into the present to experience transformation, other than the classes that are in the links below?
Um, well, it's like not necessarily getting back to the present. It's just stop being not present.
Mm.
Because, and the reason you're not being present is because you're resisting what you're feeling. And if you just see feeling like shit and resisting feeling like shit is a negative experience. But feeling like shit and embracing feeling like shit and accepting it is a positive experience. So,
So if you're feeling like shit and you're like, I feel like shit, that's being congruent.
correct.
And
Yeah.
from there, all things are possible.
Correct.
Because now you're owning your shit and you're telling the truth.
Correct.
And that's the one thing that we at Earthwaking live by. There's only one rule. 2 rules. We own our shit and we tell the truth.
And so how somebody moves from feeling how they were feeling, how they have access to the present moment, is remembering the truth. Hey, you actually have access to the present moment right now. You always have had access. You always will have access. The present moment is all that there is. So that is what's available right now. What's available? The gift, the present, the now. And so when we accept that we're feeling like shit, now we're present again to how shitty we're feeling. And then from that place, if I feel like shit, I don't take an action to not feel like shit. What I want to do is feel like shit and then allow it to move through me. And then once it moves through me, I'm like, also, the reason we're feeling like shit is coming from ignorance, and the reason, well, it might be fear based, but the reason we're feeling fear is because of ignorance. And when we actually learn the truth, and we live the truth, and we be the truth, then that feeling like shit is not a often occurrence. Like it barely ever happens. And so in the feeling like shit, in the working of a job that you hate, like all those attributes are already telling me, they're informing me that you're fearful, that you're taking actions from fear. And the reason you're doing that is because you're ignorant to the fact that you're fearful. And so learning the truth and then knowing the truth, like having knowing, but then from that knowing, actually implementing a way of being that is congruent with that knowing, and then taking action steps from the truth is what ultimately allows access to the present moment at all times. And then because it's available at all times, it's the gift, and it's moving from a reactive state to a responsible state, a responsive state, because when you're present you can respond. And it's moving from being a consumer to being a creator. And so the answer to your question is noticing and accepting every present moment, first of all. Like I use this phrase, accept and appreciate. So accept it and then appreciate something about right now. I appreciate a roof over my head. Like it just started sprinkling. I first of all accept that I'm in this present moment. I'm in the filming of this video right now. I accept that I'm here. I accept that I'm communicating. And now that I've accepted, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful that I'm feeling like centered. I'm so grateful I'm feeling present. I'm so grateful for this rain. So I've accepted and appreciated. And then from there, all things are possible.
Transformation is possible from that space. And in the Bible, it speaks about when you have the faith of a mustard seed. And what I heard is becoming present, and from there, taking an action. And when you take an action, just one step, one action that you never took in your life that you take from that space is an access point to you creating a whole new reality for your existence. That was beautifully distinguished. So very beautiful.
Yes, and it starts with where you're operating from. Because if you're operating from feeling like shit and you take an action, you're going to perpetuate feeling like shit in the actions that you're taking. Like it's just going to be a snowball effect of taking an action from feeling like shit and then feeling like shit after you've taken the action and then feeling like shit and then taking another action. And so to not take an action from a negative emotional state, but to be present, to be in peace, to be in, that's why the accepting and the appreciating is so important, to be in gratitude for right now. And now that I'm in gratitude, I literally don't need to do anything. But hey, like, how can I beautify this space? How can I change something so that I might positively affect the lives of other people? How might I have a way of being and show up so that uh, people experience transformation in my presence? And all those are accessible from a space of gratitude. And then taking action from gratitude produces a snowball effect where you have a fruit produced from your action, and then you're like, wow, I feel grateful that this fruit got produced. And now you're feeling grateful, and now you're accepting where you're at and feeling grateful, and now you take an action from your gratitude, and then that produces a fruit that you can be grateful for and accept. And it's this culmination of acceptance and gratitude and love. And here we are in the present, experiencing all of those things right now. I don't know if you are, but I know that I am. Would you like to add anything down, as I feel complete?
The only thing that I would add is I don't know if you want to speak to this, but you just created a master class, and I feel that that may be wanting to be expressed still. Other than that, I feel complete.
Yeah, links in the description. The master class is called Natural Balance, and it's a space where we use music, organic medicine, and food, and we use these things on ourselves to produce balance and cooperation within ourselves so that when we look at the world, we experience balance and cooperation outside of us. Uh, the natural balance is about healing. And what natural balance considers a healed person is a person who's experiencing oneness most of the time and experiencing and feeling it. And my email is also in the description. So how you'll join this masterclass is send me an email, say, hi, Neil, I would like to join the Natural Balance Masterclass. And then from this email, I'll send you a direct link. And it's on Zoom, and it starts November 6th, which is on a Monday. It's at 5 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time, and it goes for 1 hour. So it's from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m., and it's occurring every Monday indefinitely right now. So it's evergreen, so you can join it whenever. Um, Natural Balance, links in the description. I love you. I honor you. Thank you for being here. Your time is infinitely valuable. I know that. I respect that. I operate from a way of being that honors your time, my time, Dennis's time. Here we are. I'm complete.